You're watching the KGP pregame show, live from the KGP studios in downtown Cambridge, Ohio. Your source for the latest local sports highlights, interviews, and information. Brought to you by And now, let's go live to the guys in the studio.
Hello and welcome to the KGP studios here in beautiful downtown Cambridge, Ohio for this week's edition of the KGP pregame show. I'm merely Tom Strasser. Hammering Heath Dawson is still in makeup as we speak. And once again, honored to be joined also by my partner in crime, my sidekick, the one and only D-Train, Darren McCullough. As Week 7 is in the books, the playoffs have started, and all three Guernsey County teams are still alive this week for Week 8. And as always, we would like to thank our sponsors, Buffalo Wild Wings, Cons, Muskingum Valley Health Centers, John Valentine Insurance Agency, Basic Systems, and Simple Windows and Doors. And my man, we've got an action-packed show tonight. We'll be joined by the head coach of the Cambridge Bobcats, Coach Leek, who got a big win at home to advance to the second round, as well as the head coach of the Meadowbrook Colts. Coach Clendenning will be joining us as they enjoyed their bye week, and now they're getting set to host the Philo Electrics.
It's going to be an exciting week, that's for sure. And hopefully Buckeye Trail's able to play this week. They got the forfeit win, so I'm sure Coach Kearns, his probably thought process wasn't going to have his first career playoff win as a coach being a forfeit win. But I'm sure I know he said on Twitter he just wants his kids to have the opportunity to compete. It's been 2 weeks now where the COVID's kind of taken them out of the opportunity. He wants his kids, and his kids want to compete, so he's looking forward to that. Of course, Cambridge coming off of a great playoff win, the first playoff win, I think, since 2006 for them, so that's exciting. Meadowbrook hosting a playoff game. They hosted 2 years ago when they beat Oak Hill, so that's going to be an exciting game down in Byesville, too.
Yes, it'll be a lot of fun. Cambridge at Heath, Buckeye Trail at Afrocentric, and Philo at Meadowbrook. And when we come back, we'll preview the Buckeye Trail Warriors game Saturday night as they make the trek up 70 West to Columbus to take on the Nubians of Afrocentric. And we'll get into that game after this timeout here on the KGP pregame show. Welcome back to the KGP pregame show here in beautiful downtown Cambridge at the KGP Luscious Studios for this week's edition, where we look at high school football and we're going to look at the Buckeye Trail Warriors. And our main man, Caleb Graham, just got off the phone with the head football coach of the Buckeye Trail Warriors, Donnie Kearns, to remind him that he does have a game this Saturday. Because if anyone knows Buckeye Trail the last 2 weeks, they have had games canceled. Week 6, we're supposed to host Newcomerstown. That was just a cancellation. Then Week 7, last week, Buckeye Trail was to host Mount Gilead. And then at the end of the week, Mount Gilead, due to the corona, had to cancel the game with the playoffs. That was a forfeit. So Buckeye Trail moves to the second round, where they will travel to Columbus to take on the Nubians of Afrocentric. And a few people out there, D-Train, are wondering, what is Afrocentric like?
Well, they're currently 3-1 on the year. The reason I bring that up, their 3 wins match their win total of the last 3 years combined when they were 2-8 last year, 0-10 2018, and 1-9 in 2017. So obviously they haven't had the results that they normally get from the boys and girls teams on the hardwood, but still it's a team you have to play on the field. And from us knowing Coach Kearns, I'm sure that if you go by his house, there's probably a little line back and forth on his yard where he's paced back and forth the past 2 weeks because he's anxious and he's ready to coach his team. He's ready to see his team play on the football field. He's a competitor and he teaches his kids to compete, and I'm sure he's going to be amped up and ready to go.
Oh, yes. The people out at East Guernsey are definitely excited to not only be in the second round of the playoffs, but to get a chance to see their boys play. And when you look at Afrocentric, Train, when you look at them offensively, you know, they'll spread it, but the one thing, they are a big play team. They want to get the ball to their athletes in space and let them make one guy miss and then try to take it to the house.
Yeah, they got the horses on their team. It all starts with sophomore quarterback Antonio Moss Jr. He will run the ball some, but he wants to get out of the pocket and look to sling it down the field to Junior Dan Wagner. A little bit of film I saw on him. He looks like an explosive wide receiver that if he gets it, it's going to be a foot race, and I don't think too many people are going to win that against him. He's also got his tight end, Ernest Johnson, solid player. They've got a senior tailback, Justin Fudge, that's solid, and then once they kind of get down in the red zone inside the 5, they get rid of that spread and kind of put him under center. And they've got their own version of, I guess you could say, the bus Jerome Bettis, Mike Allstott, and William Refrigerator Perry. They got Leon the Wrecking Ball Briggs, a big 6-foot, 270-pound man, I'm going to call him. And he relishes contact. From the video I've seen, he knows he's not going to juke somebody, but he knows he can run them over.
Yeah, and the one thing Buckeye Trail this week during practice, and it's been emphasized talking to some of the coaching staff, if he has the ball and he will run it 10 to 12 times a game at 270 pounds, you've got to hit him low. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, with Afrocentric, Train, like we said, they're a big play team for Trail. Trail has to eliminate the explosive plays and make Afrocentric try to drive the ball, you know, a 10, 12 play drive, because when they've had to do that, they've been more prone to turnovers and penalties.
Yeah, they're one thing that I noticed on the film, they don't really do that great of a job as far as protecting the ball. So if that first person for Buckeye Trail can wrap that kid up, that second person can probably punch the ball out. There's a lot of times they're kind of nonchalant with the ball. And I just want to address a rumor too. There is no truth to the rumor that Coach Kearns himself was playing the role of Leon the Wrecking Ball Briggs in practice this week. I just want to throw that out to make sure that people know that.
Yeah, and when you look at Afrocentric on the defensive side, they're not going to try to disguise anything. They are going to line up secondary. They are going to play you man with a single high safety. So they're just saying, hey, our athlete can beat your athlete. And for Trail, it's going to be key to get the running game going, and that starts with a healthy Shane Smith, who maybe has benefited more than anyone having 2 weeks to recover.
Oh, definitely. It's benefited him a lot. And what did Coach say, though, last week? What about Franco? You never know. You never know. I'm going to and hey, you got to give Connor Pruscarich credit. He's really stepped into that role. When Franco's went down, he's led the team with 184 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games. He's kind of found a new secret weapon in Nick Newhart, who's had 7 catches for 99 yards, 3 touchdowns in that little 2-game span. So they're starting to develop some more weapons, so they're looking forward to this matchup, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can tell you the cast does come off Franco's ankle this week. And, of course, I talked to him last night after practice. He's wanting to play, but, we'll see how that goes. But Franco will definitely get out there as soon as he can, my man. But for Buckeye Trail, for them to advance another round of the playoffs, Train, it's going to come down to the line of scrimmage. And that's one thing Buckeye Trail, one thing has been their strength has been their offense and defensive line. And if they can control the line of scrimmage and control the ball and keep the explosive playmakers that Afrocentric wants to have the ball, keep them playing defense or on the sideline, Trail will have a chance, because you look at some of the games the Warriors have played this year, the time of possession, they have dominated in a few of those contests.
Yeah, you look at their 2 wins. I think that it was maybe 38-10 time of possession in their favor on average both games. So Coach Kearns, he's going to go under the philosophy, he's going to control the clock. They're going to be fundamentally sound. It's going to be a lot of detail-oriented, doing the little things, doing the smart things, not making silly mistakes. I mean, obviously they're going up against a team that's probably more athletic, but they're going to play smart, sound football, and I guarantee Coach Kearns is going to have them prepared for Saturday night, excuse me.
Yeah, and now, Trey, what do you think? We talked to, you talk to people about, hey, having a week off, but the Warriors have had 2 weeks off. And how do you think that may come into play?
I think that's an advantage and a disadvantage. The good, like you said, Shane Smith's getting healthy. All those guys are getting healthy. I mean, health is the number one thing for the importance of these kids. If they're healthy, you got them available. The bad is they've hit their teammate in practice for 2 weeks. Sometimes it kind of, that's my buddy. I want to take it easy on him. Or sometimes, that's my buddy. I want to hit him. And it kind of leads to maybe some bad technique or poor technique, doing something wrong. So that I think is going to be a big thing. Is, like you said, they got the wrecking ball Briggs. They got to hit him low. I think just being fundamentally sound is going to be the key for them Saturday night.
Yeah, the Nubians, they knocked off KIP Academy last Saturday night, 36-14, and that's the most points Afrocentric has scored this season. The previous total up until then was 20. So like we said, they rely on the big play, and they've got some playmakers. But Buckeye Trail, they control the line of scrimmage and eliminate the big plays. Then the Warriors definitely have a shot to be playing the following Saturday night as well.
Yeah, and like you said, they've only scored through 4 games 78 points, so you're talking almost 20 points a game, while they're giving up 60, so that's 15. So they haven't really kind of overwhelmed a team or dominated the team yet this year. So I think Buckeye Trail's got to look at that and realize, hey, and I know some kids from our smaller community can be like, oh my gosh, we're playing a Columbus team. That's a Columbus school. And it can, but hey, you know what? They put their pants on one leg at a time. They put those shoulder pads over their head just like you guys do. Go out and prove it on the football field. Let's see how they are on the football field.
Yeah, and the Warriors, they played Indian Valley this year, who I think shut out Indian Creek last week in the playoffs, and they played an undefeated Malvern squad as well. So the Warriors have seen some talent. So I think, going to Columbus, that'll be different. But the Warriors will definitely be excited and ready to play. And we want to wish Coach Kearns and the Buckeye Trail Warriors the best of luck as they take on the Afrocentric Nubians this Saturday night at 7 o'clock in Columbus. And again, we like to thank our fine sponsors, Buffalo Wild Wings, Basic Systems, John Valentine Insurance Agency, Simple Windows and Doors, at Muskingum Valley Health Centers, and Cons for sponsoring our show. And a special shout out to Caleb Graham, who is back in the studios.
We thought he forgot about us.
And working with us tonight. Hammer and Heath Dawson still having problems in makeup. And Caleb, if you're not looking good, he's not going to put you not going to put you in front of the camera. So
that's high-priced equipment.
Yes, you better believe it. So that's our Buckeye Trail segment. And I tell you what, when we come back, we will interview the head football coach of the Cambridge Bobcats. Look forward to that. Ray Leek on their big victory over Lyndon McKinley, and look forward to their game against Heath. And also to come later on, we'll talk with Kohler Clendenning, the head coach of the undefeated and 2020 MVL champions Meadowbrook Colts as they get ready for a showdown at home against the Philo Electrics. And we'll do that after this timeout. Welcome back to the KGP studios. Here for the KGP pregame show, this week's edition, and it's a special one. I'm merely Tom Strasser, D-Train Darren McCullough, and in between us, yes, the rose between two thorns, we are honored to be joined by the head football coach of the Cambridge Bobcats, who just got a big playoff victory in round one, and they advanced to round two, and that's Coach Leek. And Coach, congratulations not only on the playoff win, but the season thus far, because I tell you, my man, I don't know the expectations. I know they were different in the locker room, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. But outside of community, you're talking about a team that has exceeded expectations by a lot of the talking heads we know. You've done that, and you're to be commended on that. But, Coach, before we look back at last week's game and ahead to this week, I just want to touch on something that you had to go through, because you're a new coach to our community and stuff. You're coming in, you're building relationships with kids. And then 2 weeks ago, their lives, their hearts were just crushed with the tragic loss of a classmate and teammate for some of them in other sports, and Matthew Binkowitz. And we talked last week on the pregame show, when you get our age, we've experienced, loss of a loved one, family, friends. But for the kids you're dealing with, so many of them, this is the first time experiencing this. Now, you're coaching, you're getting ready for a game, and this happens, and all of a sudden, football doesn't matter. How was it for you with these kids you're just now building relationships with?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I think it's been a pretty smooth transition to build those relationships with the kids. So I feel great where we're at as far as relationships, and being there for the kids, and our coaching staff has done a nice job of building that relationship. So that was key to do that early on. So that part's been established. As far as the other part, the biggest thing was, like you said, football didn't matter that day. What mattered was being there for your classmates, for your teammates, us coaches being there for the players, being there for each other. So a big thing we did was stuck together. That sophomore class especially is very close. A lot of tight-knit groups in that class, a lot of kids who care about each other a lot. So it's just like our family. We spend so much time together in the locker room, in the practice field, weight room. So it's just being there for a family member and supporting them and doing anything you can. But that day, football didn't matter. What mattered was supporting those kids and doing anything you can for those kids on and off the field. And then that stands for now or in the off season, whether anything tragic happens or not. I think for me as a coach, just to provide that for them, because kids go through so much nowadays. Just being there for them and supporting them was the biggest thing through that.
And before D-Train gets into the victory over Lyndon McKinley, Coach, how much needed was that last week? Not just play a playoff game, but to have it at home, in the Bobcat community, because it seems like everybody needed, something to hug and come together for. And how big was that to play last Saturday, more than any other game, have that at home around family?
Yeah, it was important for us and for our program, taking the first step. That's something we're looking to do year in and year out. It's not something we're looking to do sporadically or here or there. So that's our standard. We're looking to make deep runs every year. So for us to take that step to get that win, I knew the previous week was going to be rough. That's just not our team. So I'm not surprised at all by how they came out, how they responded, how they played. To be quite frank, I figured that and I expected that from them. So it was big for our program, great for our kids, and great for our community. So overall, great week for us.
Yeah, and I just think of the Jimmy Johnson with the Cowboys line. How about them Cowboys? Yeah. I'm sure as soon as that final whistle blew, you had that football holding up in that locker room saying, how about them Bobcats? Because it's been since 2006 was the last time that Cambridge has won a playoff game. So with the expectations being like, people did not expect any of this. And then for you guys to now be 4-3, host a playoff game, win a playoff game, just talk about how much that's really brought the community together with everything that's happened and just really has united everybody.
Yeah, so for me, coming in, I expected that. That's our expectation. I'm not going to lower our standard, and our kids bought in and put in the work in the weight room, on the practice field. They're doing well in the classroom as well. So in the locker room, we expected that. And, you know, they put in the work. They put in all the time, all the energy. Our practices are very tough. They are, you know, we get after it. So we expect it. Those guys in the locker room know what they're capable of. They're confident in what they're doing. So for us, it was going out and executing our game plan, and the kids did a great job at that. So now we're on to week 2.
Yeah, and last week when you look at Lyndon McKinley, you know, I guess it's fun to play a team, you know, from somewhere, you know, different part of the state. It's always kind of neat to do that and trying to get information on them. As far as the nerves going into the game, there didn't seem to be any from the get-go because you really jumped out and really kind of put the game away early.
Yeah, we had a good game plan. We had a great understanding, and we kind of knew where we could pick and you know, where we could go with the ball offensively. Defensively, we knew what we had to stop, so we repped that all week. And you know, having that extra day to prepare helped us a lot. It was kind of nice. So for us, it was just going out and executing our game plan, and the kids did a great job at that. So there really wasn't any nerves. It was just another week. We're looking to prepare each week, whether it's week 1, you know, regular season, preseason, or week 10, and it doesn't matter. Week 15, we're going to prepare each week the same, and you know, go out and execute.
Well, Coach, you mentioned the extra day to prepare. You know, playing on Saturdays. Looking back during the regular season, does it help? You know, when you played Lima on the Saturday to kind of, you know, this wasn't new because, you know, athletes are a creature of habit. They're used to, you know, Thursday helmet, you know, walk through, and then Friday, you know, kicking off.
Right.
Was that beneficial to play a Saturday game this year before last Saturday?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can replicate that and, you know, have done that, the better. So, you know, it wasn't brand new to our kids. They kind of knew what to expect as far as practice was, schedule, you know, timing, all that stuff. So playing that Saturday game earlier on in the week and playing some of the competition that we did for sure set us up for the playoffs.
And you talked about your offense and defense Saturday night. Don't sell your special teams short. I mean, they set you up with a short field. You had numerous punt returns. I know Whaley had one they returned to the 2-yard line. I think Jeffrey had a good return that set up a quick score for you. So, I mean, all phases of everything was clicking. And as a coach, you have to absolutely love that.
Sure. Yeah, I was very pleased all 3 phases of the game. Just like offense and defense, we spend a good amount of time in practice on special teams. So, again, no surprise. Coaches do a good job at, you know, studying that and seeing where we need to attack and any weak points or any adjustments we need to make week in and week out, and we did that. So hats off to our kids to being able to set up that wall and, you know, getting out in front to block and getting some good returns and help set up our offense, that's for sure.
And setting things up, how big was it, or, you know, just for morale and talent-wise, to get Mobilini back? He had been out a little bit, and you know, you played well and, you know, without him, did some nice things, but you're just a totally different team with him on the field.
Yeah, I've said it all week, last week. It's hard to replace a Logan Mobilini. You just, there's no other words for it. So to have him back on offense, defense, special teams, it doesn't matter where he's at. You know you're getting 100% from that kid. He's a leader. He's somebody you just want to be around. He's high energy. He likes to hit. He he's going to put his shoulder down and run you over, and he's a hard runner, hard-nosed kid. So
yeah, and
we're
Coach,
glad.
to build off that, it's not just offensively. We know defensively the intensity and stuff that he plays, but offensively, it's not just him having the football. It's when he doesn't have the football, he's got eyes on him, and it really opens things up and makes things easier for everybody else because the defense they know where he's at all times.
Yeah, if they don't, then that's an advantage to us. So we'll get him the ball. But you're right, he does a good job with without the football, whether it's blocking, pass setting, it doesn't matter. So we're just glad he's back and healthy and ready for the playoffs. So good for the Bobcats.
Yes.
And how impressive, I know we've kind of talked about the progression the whole time of sophomore Caden Moore. I mean, the last regular season game, Carrollton was a rough one, understandable, obviously everything going on, but talk about a kid that makes a huge rebound, throwing for 190 yards and 6 touchdown passes. I mean, sometimes Cambridge football, I know you weren't here, but there's times if Cambridge threw 6 touchdown passes in a year, that was pretty amazing. But you're talking a game here. Just talk about how much he has progressed as a player from week 1 to now.
He's a great kid. He's somebody who's going to soak everything in, put in the time. He's coachable. He's willing to learn, and he's so young. So the upside and the future for him, the sky's the limit. Not every day you get a sophomore quarterback who can throw 6 touchdowns in a playoff game. And
first career playoff game.
I don't have words for it. He's a special kid. We're glad he's on our team, but he also works his butt off every day. And as he matures each week, he gets a little bit better. So for him and for the Cambridge Bobcats, the future looks bright.
Yeah. And Coach, we talked about the last time you were here that what a disadvantage you were as far as coming in, new coach, getting to know your coaching staff, the kids getting, to implement a new system and stuff, and then all of a sudden you got all these restrictions. But if you could, I'm just curious, if you could just go way back to the first time your team took the field, say the scrimmage against Garraway, and now through that scrimmage and 7 games later, is there a couple of things about your team that makes you kind of go, wow, we do this even better than I thought we would my first year as coach?
Yeah. I mean, overall, we've had a great season. The biggest thing I've taken away from our kids is, one, their work ethic. They want to work, and we push them to their limits. So, that's a great thing to have that and to have that leadership that we do. And we've got a lot of older kids and seniors, but we've got a lot of young kids as well who have stepped up. So, that's great to see as well. Overall in practice, the energy, the effort, the way they get after it, what we try to do is create that competition. So we do that day in and day out. And the kids they step up to anything you throw at them, any challenge. And I think really that's the key to our success and them getting better every day. Whether it's practice, game, it doesn't matter. We're getting better every day. We're going to find, if we have a weakness, we're going to fix it. So us communicating together and building that relationship early helped us a lot. And, hopefully, we're starting to peak and keep getting better.
Train, did Coach say challenge? I think he's got one coming in the second round.
Yeah, you got
Saturday.
The Heath Bulldogs traveling to Heath. They won the Licking County League Cardinal Division. They've outscored their opponents 263 to 102. I consider this a big recognition because a Columbus TV station named them their football team of the week 4. So usually you get Columbus schools, a kind of school outside of it, getting that recognition is pretty impressive. They definitely seem like they got a lot of horses, and my favorite one, Xavier Purier, who scored 6 rushing touchdowns in one game, which, if you know me, I'm a big historian of running backs and touchdowns, so that's even better than the great Al Bundy when he scored 4 rushing touchdowns in one game. So just talk about Heath and what your expectations are for their explosive offense.
Yeah, so my expectations is for us to, first of all, prepare every game the same. So that's what we've done. Coaches, we've watched our film, we've got our game plan, and we're confident in it. We're confident in our kids. Our kids are confident heading over to Heath. Obviously, the deeper you go in the playoffs, the talent's going to rise each week. So we're looking to get better, create that energy, to get after it each week more and more at practice. The better you do and the further you go on, the better you have to practice. You have to prepare better. Everything is just a different level. It's a different notch, and that's what we're looking to do.
Coach, this is a two-parter. One, Monday, this week when you stepped on the field to practice to get ready for Heath, and this is natural. Where was the first playoff win? Were some of the guys still kind of celebrating that, or were they already turned to Heath? And then number two, with the schedule you played, that's the good thing. You're not going to step on the field Saturday night, and no one for the Bobcats is going to go, whoa, we haven't seen this before.
Right.
So out of your schedule, the second part is there a team that you have played this year that is similar to what you'll see this Saturday night?
Sure. So the first part of that question, no, they know my expectations and our team expectations of we're getting ready for practice. We're moving on. It's all business. We got to celebrate Saturday night, be happy for that, but you've got to get back to work. You got to keep going if you want to keep that success and continue to roll on through the playoffs. So you can't sit in that happy zone too long.
Yeah.
You got to get back to work. So Monday they were 100% dialed in, focused. Energy was great. They were ready to work. So great Monday practice, and it's rolling on through the week. So that part, it's been great. Schedule-wise, anytime you play New Philly, they're tough. I think that obviously helps you for the playoffs. We've seen a lot of speed in Lima, so that helps us as well. So seeing those two combined, there's not many football teams who can do what those two programs do throughout the state. So those two are definitely two that stand out. Bel Air was another tough physical game that you could compare that to. They were a good team and also prepared us. So I just think if we can control what we do and execute and be consistent, we're in good shape.
That's the big thing. I love it, execution, because like you said earlier, you said your kids didn't care what everybody else was saying. It was going to be them on the football field, and that's what's going to matter. It's practices Monday through Friday, but Saturday it's time for you guys to show what we practice and what we've learned and prove that you're the better team on the football field. It's not going to be a paper test. It's going to be you have to do it.
Yeah, there's a reason we play the games. Two comparable programs, two comparable teams, ranked pretty similar, so be a good game.
Yeah, and Coach, is there for you, how does it feel kind of, getting ready for this week, because this year's like no other. Any other time you're in the playoffs, you're thinking, and I always thought that's what you're watching practice, and it'd be Friday and going, hey, could this be our last practice? But this year's like no other. That if you're playing next Saturday, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Mm-hmm. But if things don't work out, the thoughts is, hey, okay, we'll go play next Friday night. Is that kind of, how does that kind of work with you?
I don't have that feeling. I'm looking to win. I want to play.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. That's
I know,
my feeling. I want
it's Saturday or bust.
I know.
I want to go to week 3. So that's my
Yes.
feelings. We want to win week 2 and take the next step and go to week 3. So that's my feelings. I haven't given the other part any thought at all. So that hasn't crossed my mind. But I understand.
I'm not trying to, but it's not over. You're going to, good Lord willing, you're practicing Monday regardless. It's just what day you're going to play. And like I said, I think that's a neat thing for the way the OHSAA did it this year.
Yeah, it is.
And the thing I really like, you said week 2 and week 3, because this is a whole new season. Everybody's 0-0 once the playoffs start. So you're not taking anybody for lighted, respect all, fear none mentality. I love it.
Yeah, so we told our kids we're 0-0. Lyndon McKinley's 0-0. We're going to go win one game at a time. This week we're looking for week 2, win 2.
And train, I don't know of a coach who loves the underdog role more than this guy. He relishes it, and that's fine. And Coach, as we let you go here, can you give us 2, maybe 3 keys that for the Bobcats to be playing next Saturday night, that if they do these 3 things, you're going to have a good shot?
Yeah, so number 1 is execution. You always have to execute. It's simple. execute our offense, execute our defense. We're confident in our game plan. I think our kids are pretty confident in themselves. Just keep playing Bobcat football. Play hard, play tough, play physical, and we'll be in good shape to get to week 3.
All right. Well, Coach, thanks so much for coming up. I know it's a busy week, exciting week, getting ready for Heath. We want to wish you and the Bobcats the best of luck Saturday night as you make that trek down the interstate for a big game. And, hey, you're becoming a household name around here on the KG pregame show, and we look forward to having you back up here again before this season is over.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
And once again, we want to thank our sponsors, Buffalo Wild Wings, Conn's Muskingum Valley Health Centers, John Valentine Insurance Agency Basic Systems, and Simple Windows and Doors for sponsoring the KGP pregame show once again this week. And when you visit their businesses, be sure to give them a thanks for doing that. So Coach Ray Leeks has joined us. When we come back, the Meadowbrook Colts, we'll talk about their big game and with their head coach, Coach Clendenning, after this timeout. Welcome back to the KGP studios in beautiful downtown Cambridge, Ohio for this week's edition of the KGP pregame show. We just visited with the head football coach of the Cambridge Bobcats, head coach Ray Leek, and now we're honored to be joined by the head football coach of the Meadowbrook Colts. I'm sorry, let me redo that. That would be your 2020 MVL champions and undefeated Meadowbrook Colts. And yes, please do not adjust your screen. He really is this good looking. The one and only Coach Clendenning. And Coach, first of all, congratulations. First year in the MVL. You run the table and claim the title. Something to be proud of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was one of our big expectations. And, I mean, we kind of had that goal set before the schedule got all shifted around. We were like, got to win the NBL, and we really set a goal to try and be undefeated on the season. So it's nice to get both all in one shot.
Yeah, and, Coach, I'm not sure, in training, I'm not sure if the MVL is truly happy you coming in your first year winning, because you get ready to start the playoffs this week, and what do? They're sending another MVL team at you. So talk about that. But, Coach, before that, last week was unique for any high school coach. You had a bye week. So I just wanted you to kind of walk through that. How soon did you start looking towards your next opponent? Did you try to clean things up, take a few days off? How did you do something that most coaches who have coached for 30 years have never done before, and that's have a bye week?
Kind of all of the above. I mean, we knew, obviously, the stage was set. It's going to be Maysville and Philo. We scrimmaged Philo earlier in the year with our Jamboree game, and then just being in the MVL, and you get film on everybody some way or another. And so we kind of had some film, and we drew up some plays and said, whatever we do in practice as far as scout team, this is what we're going to see. We took a day for one team, a day for another, then a mix and match. But we just tried to mainly focus on us, especially defensively, because, again, they can line up in any formation. There could be any play, tricks, and all that kind of stuff. So really just focus on us and fitting up, filling lanes, being sure tacklers. And we kind of did that the last 2 weeks going against Morgan and West Muskingum. Just felt like we need to clean up who we are, and if we could take care of who we are, the wins would come. And then after that, I mean, the focus was just getting healthy and trying to have a little bit of fun, relax, take a breather, try to get nice and refreshed. And I think we did, like I said, all of the above. We played a little 7-on-7 tournament, and the big guys did some returning punts, and, we had some fun. And I think we got a little bit better, and I think we cleaned a lot of things up and got healthy. So
That's a big thing you said, clean some things up. I'm sure you beat West Ham that last game of the season. regular season, 60-0. But I'm sure at the end you really weren't happy, especially with the penalties and just like the silly mistakes that were made during that game.
Yeah, Jerome Todd came to me at halftime, and he was like, "Coach, I need somebody to talk me down." And I'm like, "For what? What's going on?" He was like, "Everything I do gets called back." And it's been that way for several weeks. I mean, he catches touchdowns, or West Muskingum, he scoop and scores from the corner position, which is kind of impressive in itself. And then it gets called back. So I think we had maybe 3 get called back at West Muskingum. I don't know off the top of my head, but
sounds about right.
Again, we just continue to get in our own way, and so our focus has got to be us playing our ball clean, and then seeing how we turn out. Because I think we might ourselves how good we could be if we get out of that slump.
And Coach, before we talk about the Electrics, when you look over the season, and we talked about undefeated, the one thing that I'm just amazed, when you hear the word explosive, a team's explosive, you automatically think offense. And yes, you've put up a lot of points offensively, but how have you ever been around a team or on the staff where the defense and special teams is also providing points like they have this year?
I can't say. I mean, 7 years in, I don't think we've had that type of explosiveness. Now I know, like when we had Timmy Ferg, he could return a kickoff or a punt at any time, which he had. Brady Blattner the same. Brady Blattner is always good for a big hit every so many plays. Same with Tyreek, some of those other guys. Timmy Ferg on defense. So there's some big plays, but I don't think quite as explosive on the scoreboard as this team's been, which is, again, a testament to our coaching staff and getting them in the right spots, and then our guys just stepping up to the challenge.
So when you guys realize, because this is going to be directed to Heath, because unfortunately he's still in makeup here for us, we had the discussion a couple weeks ago about the bye to play or not to play during that bye. Was there any thought in your mind at all to try finding a Week 7 opponent?
Nope, not at all.
So that's all I wanted, just to prove Heath wrong. I wanted somebody else to say it. That's all we needed. Next question.
Nope, I didn't even cross my mind. I know, it could end at any time, and everybody was like, we could get some games in. But talked with our staff. I told them how I felt. They were in agreement, and I looked at the players and said, we're going to get healthy and take the time off.
And, Coach, I'll ask you the same question I asked Coach Leek. And, of course, it's ironic when I ask you to go back to your first scrimmage, because that's the team you're going to see this Saturday night. But if you will, amuse me and go back to your, very first scrimmage when your team put on the pads and competed against another team to right now, is there a couple of things about the 2020 Meadowbrook Colts football team that makes you kind of stand back and you look now and go, wow, I never dreamed we would do this as well as we have after our first scrimmage?
Well, I think the biggest concern I had going into the scrimmage, again, Philo, talented, well-coached. We know they're aggressive, very physical. So we like that scrimmage every year. It's nice to kind of get trade a few punches with somebody before you get into the season. And I was big question mark about our defense. This year's a new defense for us, moving to our 3-4 look, and I didn't have a whole lot of experience in it. Thankfully, Coach Brown was on it all off season, so I was nervous to see how they were going to handle it. And at times we looked suspect, and we kind of missed filling some lanes, and we're chasing each other instead of fitting up around each other. And so that was a big question mark, and it was, again, worrisome going into John Glenn, another heavy expected to trade punches with us. And so looking at that defensive group that was out there against Philo, they're night and day. They're scary to look at sometimes. They're just all over the place. And so that's definitely a big question mark that's been answered, and I'm very pleased with the way their defense is playing.
And Philo definitely, unfortunate for you guys, had a great regular season, but I think honestly in the draw you got kind of the short end of the stick, because Philo could very easily have been one of those top 5 teams. You're talking about a team that's outscored their opponent 202 to 141 3 of their 4 losses have been by combined 10 points. And like we were talking before, their only other loss was to Sheridan, who obviously is pretty stinking good. But just talk about Philo and I know you talked about the traditions, but talk about how, I mean, this isn't an easy opponent. Talk about the preparation that you guys have to be for these guys.
Yeah, when we saw the draw come out, we're like, wait a minute, Philo, Maysville? And then, we look at some of the others, and I'm like, man, I feel like some of the others got a break here. But it is what it is. It's kind of the way that 2020's rolled for just about anybody. You just get dealt the hand you get, and you got to play it. So just preparing for them, again, the first thing that we always focus on is ourselves, because I think we continue to get in our own way at times. And we've made a lot of leaps and bounds as far as the way that we handle ourselves mentally and the emotions and the energy that we bring to the game. I think those are in check. It's just the penalties, maybe some of the mental mistakes. So again, the first thing getting ready for Philo is us. We have to fix ourselves and be ready in our own world. And then after that, we just got to mimic some of the aggressiveness and physical play that they have. And I mean, I think that's one of their biggest assets is they're very physical, they're very aggressive, and then we know that they're going to be well coached. Again, going against Philo several years now in our jamboree, and I know it's only a couple quarters, but they have the resume of being a well coached, very consistent, winning team. So we just had to be ready for that.
Yeah, even Coach Linscomb, sorry, Tommy, made the comment after his win Saturday night over Maysville, said we scrimmaged them at the beginning of the season, so we know their personnel pretty well and what they like to do. They have been lighting up the scoreboard, so it will be another test for our defense. So you can definitely see the respect factor between the two of you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of respect for Coach Linscomb.
Yeah, and Coach, building off that, when you talk about the scrimmage now, you've coached kids for a few years, and you were a kid, you playing. So the natural thing is when the role that you've been on and the blowouts that you've had, it's easy to start, feeling good about yourself, all the pats on the back you're getting in the community and stuff. And, hey, we even get a bye, we're that good. How, is it kind of a positive that the team you're playing, you were on the field with already, even though it was a scrimmage, where it kind of gets the kids' attention that they know what battle they have Saturday night?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest worries about that bye week and maybe even our schedule is that, are we ready? Playoffs, everybody's tough, tough draw, things like that. Are we going to be awake, so to speak, and ready for this? And I think the way that we handle practice and stuff like that definitely keeps us on edge. And to answer your question, having went against Philo and also I think seeing Philo every year kind of calms the nerves there a little bit as far as the expectations of what this game's going to be like. So I don't think it's going to be a shock and awe. I'll let you know at the end of the week after practice goes. But so far, I definitely just reading our kids and seeing how they respond to things, we should be good to go.
And Trey, here's my shock and awe question. I need some, because I'm mystified, stupefied, dumbified on this. You knew you were playing the winner of Maysville and Philo. Now, it's 2020. What's the chances that they would meet week 6 of the season? Maysville beats Philo 43-41. So just a week later, they play again, and Philo not only wins, but they win 43-0. What happened in 1 week?
Well, again, Coach Linscomb, I mean, he's a good coach. He knows how to get his guys in order. And, I watched the first go around, and I saw a lot of costly turnovers. And no, nothing to take away from Maysville. I think they came out and they played hard. I think it's a rivalry game. And their quarterback, he shined in that game. But again, Philo, able to bounce right back and not be fazed by it. And if you look at the way that they play, again, I talk about how aggressive and physical, and they're very emotional. You can see it when it's going good. I mean, you can ride that wave and it'll take you to a 43-0 victory. Or if you got costly turnovers and you get some chippiness back and forth between two teams and you kind of get in each other's head a little bit, it can show on the scoreboard. And I think that's kind of what happened, just kind of reading the games and not being there, obviously part of their staff. I think that double-edged sword of being very emotional and stuff might have got in their head. Maybe they took them light, I don't know, but it's high school football. 1,000 things could happen.
Yeah, Train wasn't surprised that Philo won last week in the playoffs because Maysville, like I said, they put up 43 points the week before on the Electrics defense. Maysville's got a nice team and explosive, but it was just odd for them to play back-to-back and have that big of a discrepancy.
Yeah, you don't see a team scoring 43 points one game, then getting shut out the next game. That just shows kind of, I don't want to say it, but I kind of think that Philo they didn't really show everything in week 6 because they wanted to keep some stuff. They went a little vanilla. It was kind of like that fourth preseason game in the NFL. You just kind of want to get through it, everybody healthy. And I know one of their players did go down in that week 6 game, but he wasn't serious in return, so that's good for them. But Philo, they kind of offensively, I think they're very similar to you guys as far as they run the spread just like you guys. Their quarterback, Junior Owen Smith, dual threat quarterback just like Singleton. They got Casey Munyon, who's a senior running back on their team, has been a starter since his freshman year running back. So he could be compared to like maybe a combo of Lacey Schwartz. And then you got his 2 outside weapons that he's going with Jackson Ratcliffe and Eli Preston. So they're kind of your Todd and McCall. I feel like you guys could kind of like use your playbook to kind of mimic what they're going to do at times because there's a lot of very similarities, I think, between the style of play and offensively for both you guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they like to take shots with their one-on-one receivers, and, we do the same thing. They run a couple similar runs, formations, and, again, they run the RPO at times where they'll, have a read option, roll out, and have a bubble option out there. So very similar, yes. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you get your huddle film, and it just shows clip by clip, so we'll see how fast they press the pace. I mean, we tend to play pretty fast, but I like having that similarity. I think our defense is really good with the spread teams. Obviously Shockton kind of gave us some fits there in their wing tee, but again, it's kind of a rivalry game for us. So, that stuff goes out the window. But it is nice to see somebody similar, and I think it adds to the comfort level of our kids. They don't get too bent out of shape about some of the stuff they do, and they're able to almost like predict some of the concepts, where things are going, how the ball's being distributed and stuff like that, at least defensively. So,
and when you look at your offense, Davis, Singleton, wow, just another year system and under center or pistol, shotgun. It's just the decision making that he has made this year, the high completion rate, the touchdowns. If the run pass option is there, just he just seems to know what he has to do on each play, and he's done it well.
Yeah, I mean, Davis has really stepped up senior leadership and his performance as well. And I mean, he's went in and played defense for us too. It's not like he's just the one side of the ball or just a QB that doesn't get physical. I mean, he likes to play defense too. But definitely hats off to him, Coach Jarrett, our offensive coordinator, really putting in the time in the film. And I mean, he's not a one-man show. Those receivers do an excellent job on the film study, finding the open grass and sitting down and really making the job easier on Davis. And obviously, when he's not getting touched that often from our big O-line, that definitely helps make his job easier. So group effort, but he's definitely filled the role really well and really put the time in on the film study to distribute the ball efficiently.
Then to their defense, Philo runs a 4-4 defense, so that's kind of the defense that you guys ran last year. I know they got up front Steve Irvin's one of their big defensive linemen. Blake Dayton's a tough linebacker, and then their secondary's pretty good with Preston, Munyon, and Ratcliffe, who are 3 of their big offensive players. Just talk about kind of their defense and what's some of your keys offensively attacking their 4-4.
Well, I mean, a 4-4 is something that we ran for several years. I mean, I was coordinating for that. So that it's nice to, know kind of the ins and outs of the 4-4. But this is nice because, I mean, when we went into the scrimmage, we kind of thought they were going to be playing their typical 3-4 odd front, and they had their 4-4 set up, and our guys adjusted on the fly pretty quickly to that. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a shock and all, but I mean, both sides of the ball, they've got players, and you keep mentioning some of the names over and over, and I mean, they definitely have some dudes that can make some plays. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach us, since we like to spread it out and really stretch the field. And with them having the one high safety, we'll look to see how they adjust if they try to roll one back, and how they look to play coverage in that.
Yep. And when you look on the defensive side of the ball for you, is there a couple of things that you're saying, hey, we have to stop and be prepared for, because if not, it's going to be tough to get them the fourth down and punting the football?
Yeah, their backfield. I mean, their quarterback, can't say enough about him. I mean, the guy's got an arm for sure, and I mean, he scrambles around, very mobile, but it's almost he's just scrambling around to make time for his receivers. And I mean, he's not afraid to sling it, and he's pretty accurate with it too. So definitely like the way he plays. So he's kind of a focal point, but obviously running back. I mean, he's got quite a few years of experience. He's pretty shifty, physical kid, runs downhill at times. And so he's another one where we've got to have plenty of bodies, kind of keeping the cup is what we call it, and not let him spill out and get free. So definitely handling their backfield. And then obviously our DBs in that sense, we're going to try and get pressure with our three-man front and sending backers and things to kind of contain their backfield. But at times, I mean, if he's scrambling around or he gets loose, we've got to stay in coverage for an extended period of time. So it's one priority, QB running back. That backfield has to be handled and contained and pressured. But at the same time, our secondary focus, or at least 1A, so to speak, or 1B, has got to be coverage, has to last as long as possible until there's a whistle.
And then outside of that, it's really
and then after that, it's just defensive tackling the guy with the ball, which is basically the easiest thing to do.
Wow. But Coach, as we get ready to wrap things up, first of all, I would put you on the spot and ask you, when's the last time you played at home? Because it seems like it's been a while. And I know, that not only, a second round playoff game, but to play it at home, and in front of the fans, that's got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and something we got from Coach Twitty, we've always talked about, our record-breaking things. What are the firsts? How many offensive yards can we put up, and tackles and so forth. And we've been pretty blessed here the last several years with a lot of playmakers and a lot of explosive guys. But, we get our highest seed in Division 4. We get to host in Division 4. All those other things that everybody talks about from our previous playoff run was all Division 5. So kind of put a little more hype on it, and our kids get excited. But it's definitely nice, especially this year with all the crazy ups and downs, and the MVL keeps coming at us, and all the things. The West, Maysville, Philo play each other back to back, and all these things. It's nice to just be at home and have our comfortable atmosphere around us. But I mean, Philo, if you look at them, I think they've played at our place. They might have played at our place more than us. They're, the scrimmages and then their playoff runs, they play at Meadowbrook quite a bit. Yeah. So it might be just another second home for them.
Home game for both teams.
No doubt.
Well, it's definitely better than having to like you guys. The winner will play Galley Academy or Vinton County. So, I mean, you're talking about a 30-minute trip from Philo to Meadowbrook.
Yeah.
While Galley Academy is going to be over an hour, or Vinton County over an hour. So, I mean, that's a big benefit, I think, for them there.
The region is definitely
low
spread
travel.
out. Yeah. I remember the year we traveled to Johnstown. It felt like an eternity. But,
I made that trip as well.
We made the trip to Morgan and New Lex, and I've been riding the Riverview since I was in the 8th grade, so I think there can be some hikes.
And Coach, a couple of big keys that if your team does these two things well, you've got a good shot to be playing next Saturday.
First and foremost, minimize the mistakes. That's penalties, mental errors on us in general. And then secondly, we've got to contain their backfield and stay in coverage. And again, I say 1A, 1B because they're kind of equally important. Those things, I think, will be in good shape.
And the last oddball question I'll ask you, with this year being like no other before, when you've been on staffs and stuff, playoff games, you have practice on, Friday before the game, and, all coaches kind of wonder, man, is this the last time, we're going to practice? It's not like that. Regardless what happens Saturday, if you're playing the following Saturday, that's good. Worst case scenario, you'll be playing Friday. Have you thought about that, or has it just been?
No, it's strictly playoffs. We consider it a failure to have to play any other game. And I know we have the schedule that's out there that has games on the week 9s, week 10s, things like that. But we've literally addressed that since week 1. That it is unacceptable and a failure to be playing other than Saturdays. Once we get past week 6, the expectation is to play Saturday the rest of the time. So,
Train, I should have saved that question, and Coach Leek could have.
Very similar.
Same thing, yes.
Well, if we both do things right, we'll be playing on Saturday.
Amen.
Potentially around that time.
And it may be week 10 if I'm possibly.
It could be. Yeah, I haven't checked the layout of the bracket, but it could be very close.
Yeah, well, Coach, we want to wish you the best of luck Saturday night. And for the fans who are fortunate to go to the game, that's going to be a great atmosphere. For the ones who are not able to, you can still watch the game on KGP TV. So my man D-Train and Hammer and Heath Dawson will be bringing that game. So be sure to tune in to KGP TV. And we got a few other playoff games this week we'll be covering as well. But definitely will be there in Byesville rooting for the Colts. And Coach, once again, congratulations, 2020 MVL champions, undefeated, and a big showdown against the Philo Electrics. And definitely looking forward to that.
Well, I think we're done with this one, aren't we? We're definitely good luck Saturday night. Look forward to seeing a highly contested contest for sure. I know you're amped up, and I know your players will be amped up. I know a lot of them. I happen to know a couple of them personally, and I know they were at a friend's house watching the game Saturday night, so I was texting back and forth with them. Even though I wasn't watching, I was just saying, listen, these guys are good. You can't overlook these guys.
We're definitely excited. There's a good atmosphere. There's like a buzz. It's almost like we could play tonight. We'd be ready. So it's exciting to be around it, and it's just playoffs. Playoffs make everything just a little bit better.
All right. Well, Coach, once again, thanks for joining us here on the KGP pregame show. And we'll step aside, and when we come back, we will hand out our awards from week 7 last week. And it ought to be pretty simple because we only had one team playing. So it'll be a quick one. But once again, Coach, thanks for joining us here. And we'll be back after this timeout. Welcome back to the KGP pregame show. I'm merely Tom Strasser, Caleb Graham producing the show, and joined by D-Train Darren McCullough for tonight's show. And Train, it's now time to give out our awards from week 7, who stood out on the gridiron. But there was only one team that got to play last week. That's the bad news. The good news is all 3 of them have moved on, and they're all playing this week. And it's the Cambridge Bobcat segment, and we'll look first at our John Valentine Insurance Agency defensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, congratulations to the Bobcats for sweeping our awards this week. They had a couple, or 3 guys that really did it. Justin Bartlett had 1.5 sacks on Saturday night, but we're going to give Defensive Player of the Weeks for John Valentine Insurance, and Case Wilson, who led them with 7 tackles. That's a defensive lineman leading the team with 7 tackles. And Blake Brumfield, who had 4 tackles and a fumble return for a touchdown. I believe it was a 47-yard fumble return for a touchdown. So the Cambridge defense came to play and definitely stepped up, and it seemed like all phases, like Coach Leek said, were just clicking for him Saturday night against Lyndon McKinley.
All right, so once again, congratulations to Blake Brumfield and Case Wilson, this week's John Valentine Insurance Agency co-players of the week. And now it's time for our Buffalo Wild Wings KGP Player of the Week. And again, a lot of people to choose from, but there goes that man again.
Well, you've got to give credit. I mean, there was a lot of kids that put some stats up for Cambridge. Mobilini returns, had 96 yards offense, 2 touchdown receptions. Freshman Easton Jones led the team in rushing with 77 yards rushing and a touchdown. Caden Kenworthy, 3 catches, 58 yards and a touchdown. Bartlett proves that he can do it on the offensive end as well as the defensive end. 3 catches, 43 yards, touchdown. Xander Caldwell had a 42-yard touchdown reception. Caden Whaley returned a punt to the 2-yard line. Coach Leek rewarded him on the very next play, hitting him for a 2-yard reception, making sure he got touchdown reception, making sure he got that touchdown. But in the end, we're going to go with sophomore quarterback Caden Moore. Rebounded from a rocky week 6, but 6 touchdown passes. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. 6 touchdown passes and 190 yards passing. So what a playoff debut for him. And he is now the first 3-time KGP Player of the Week award winner.
Well, 6 touchdown passes. Caden Moore definitely climbing the record books in Bobcat football history, that's for sure. So once again, congratulations to Caden Moore, sounding like a broken record, this week's Buffalo Wild Wings KGP Player of the Week. And as we head out, we would like to once again thank our sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Cons, Muskingum Valley Health Centers, John Valentine Insurance Agency, Basic Systems, and Simple Windows and Doors for sponsoring not only this week's broadcast, but this season as well. And once again, when you visit these businesses, be sure to thank them for sponsoring the KGP pregame show. And be sure to tune in to KGP TV for this week. Got some big action Friday night. KGP TV will travel to Malvern. South Central will take on the undefeated Malvern Hornets. We want to wish Malvern the best of luck. And also Friday night, Waterford travels to River to take on the River Pilots. So good luck to River. And then Saturday night, what a doubleheader. Cold Grove will travel to Shenandoah to take on the Zeps. Want to wish Coach Wells and the Zeps good luck. And then in Byesville, we talked about it earlier with Coach Clendenning, the Philo Electrics traveled to Byesville to take on the Meadowbrook Colts. So we want to wish Philo the best of luck, as well as Cambridge and Buckeye Trail Saturday night. So that wraps things up here on the KGP pregame show. And on behalf of the KGP family, I want to wish everyone a great rest of the week and a safe weekend, and good luck to our teams. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week on the KGP pregame show.
You can count on me meeting you in the press box.
And there's he's still in makeup. Yes. Can you pick up his slack?
And you stay classy, Guernsey County.
Good night, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on the KGP pregame show.